Good morning, dear students. Today we will start the 7th chapter of history, and this is the last history chapter of second semester. And in this chapter we will study about the administration and art and architecture during the Sultanate. So in the previous two chapters we discussed about various sultans, that is they belongs to Mamluk dynasty, Khiljis and Tughlaqs. Now in this chapter we will study about their administration, their art and architecture. So in this portion we will start with administration. It's divided into two categories. The first one we will study about the important personalities or the important people who looked after administration. They are sultan, ulamas, court and nobility. This four were considered as the people who looked after or the authority during that time or authority of administration during that time. In the second part we will study about three different types of administration. They are the central administration, the provincial administration and the revenue administration. So these are the main topics which we are going to study in this topic or in this part of our class. Like our previous videos, this video is also divided into two categories. First I will give you an introduction about all these topics and then you can watch the PowerPoint in which each and every point is given in detail so that it will be easy for you to learn. So let's start the chapter. The first topic is Sultan. Who is the Sultan? Sultans are the rulers, or we call them as kings, or in the term of Turkish nobles or Turkish rulers we call them as sultans. So these sultans were considered as the head of the state. They are believed to have divine kingship. That means they believe that they are made king by the god or they are getting the power from the god to be a ruler. So this divine kingship was believed by the people, and the kings or the rulers also made the people believe that they are appointed by the god. The second one is ulamas. Ulamas are the religious head or qazis. So they take the decisions. Whenever the king have to take any important decision, he used to discuss it with the ulamas, but the final decision will be taken by the ruler. So every time he used to get the opinion of the ulamas, but the final decision will be taken by the king. During that time, the king was not only the head of administration, he was also considered as the head of religion also. So here Sultan is administrative, we can say that he is the administrative head or the political head, and ulamas are the religious head. But altogether we can say that the Sultan is considered as the head of religion and administration. The third one is the court of the ruler. The rulers consider the court as a place to show their pomp and splendor. They used to dress up in a very good manner, and when they come into the court and when their departure or during their arrival, it will be announced by a group of people, and they used to come in such a way that it shows their dignity and their power and prestige. And Balban was the ruler who started Sajda and Pyrus. We have already studied about that. He asked the people to kneel down and put their forehead on the ground while coming to his court, and then kissing the feet of the ruler. So these two things were made by Balban, and the remaining rulers, they were good, and most of them were having good, splendid court. Third one is the nobility. The nobility, the condition of nobles was, we can say that it was of two types during the time of Sultanate. Some rulers who we can see that Iltutmish and except Balban and Alauddin Khilji, most of the rulers were in favor of nobles. They gave high post to nobles, they protected them, and they followed the rules and regulations of the nobles. So they were interested in giving opportunity to nobles who were taking as a decentralized power was there. The power was given to the nobles also. But Balban and Alauddin Khilji, they crushed the power of nobles, and they checked them, because during that time when they became the ruler, these people opposed them, so they checked their power. So this is all about the first four category, that is Sultan, ulamas, court and nobility. Now we will move to the second part, the administration of the country. It is administered in three ways: the central administration, provincial there. The king was the head of the authority and he looked after each and every matter, and so many departments were there, and these departments were looked after by different group of people. Four categories were there for different departments. They are revenue and military, state correspondence, religious matters, etc. were looked after by different group of people. Now, provincial administration, the country was divided into provinces. This is called as Iktas. Iktas were looked after by Iktadars, Muktis, like that, village administration, village head, like that. It is decentralized, it is divided into different categories and looked after by different group of people. Coming towards the last one, that is revenue administration. Revenue means tax. Revenue was considered as the main source of income during that time. It was collected in four ways. They are Kharaj, Khams, Jizya and Zakat. These are the four important revenues collected, and it's a very important topic. You have to learn each one. Kharaj. Kharaj is considered as the tax collected from land. It's a land revenue. Second one is Khams. Khams is the booty which is collected from after the war or after defeating the place. Whatever money is collected, that comes under Khams. Jizya is a tax which is also called as a pilgrim tax, collected from the non-Muslims, and it is not collected from children, women, old aged people, etc. So it is exception is there for Jizya. It is only collected from non-Muslims and wealthy people. The last one is Zakat. Zakat is collected only from the rich man, rich Muslims, and it is considered as another source of income of government. So these are the main topic which we are going to discuss in this portion of our chapter. So they are Sultan, Ulama, Court and Nobility, and in administration, central administration, provincial, revenue and Kharaj. Each point will be detailed in the next part of our video.
Now let's continue with discussing each topic in detail. The first one is Sultan. The Sultan was the most important person in the Sultanate. They believed in the divine theory of kingship and called themselves as Naibi Khuda or deputy of God or Sililahi or shadow of God. They preached and they believed that they are made the Sultan by the God. So they called themselves as the deputy of God and the shadow of God. Now, what are the responsibilities of Sultan? The Sultan possesses three important responsibilities. They are political, legal and military power. He was responsible for the safety and security of the state. He was the commander-in-chief of the military force and he was responsible for maintenance of law and justice. So this part is very important. What are the responsibilities of a sultan? The responsibilities are three in number. They are to look after the people or safety and security of the state, commander-in-chief of the military force, and to maintain law and justice. The second group is ulamas. Ulamas were the religious leaders and the theologian. After the king, the second group is ulamas. Many of them were appointed as high officials, granted revenue-free land, etc. Sultan used to consult while taking decisions, but some rulers framed their own laws called as Sawabit along with the Muslim laws. They consult with the ulamas, but it is not necessary that every time the interest of the ulamas were considered. The final decision will be taken by the king. The king was not only considered as the administrative head, he was also the religious head of the state. Every issue will be fine. The final decision will be taken by the king. Now the next one is his court. How he maintained his court. The court was considered as a symbol of power and glory of the sultan. The customs and practices observed in the court was written by Ibn Battuta in his work. From there we can understand about the condition of the court and the procedure of the court. There was a large audience hall called Hazar Uzlun, that means 1,000 pillar. The sultan always come to the court in grand attire. Along with him, he was having so many people who join him while his journey to the court. And these people also were dressed up very well, and the sultan always come to the court with a like a god, or like a beautiful one. He dress up very well and with grand attire. His coming and his arrival and his departure was announced. And during Balban's reign, the visitors had to offer sajda and paibo. Sajda means it's a bowing in front of the king by putting their forehead on the ground, and kissing the feet of the king is called paibo. So during the time of Balban, it was a practice by the people who come to the court. Now, the next category is nobility. After ulamas and sultan, the next category of officials are nobility or the nobles. The nobility formed an important class of people who, along with the ulama, served as a check on the royal power during the sultanate period. But the different rulers treated nobles in different ways. Some are protectors, or some are in favor of nobles, and some crushed their power. Till the rule of Tughlaqs, the Turkish nobles monopolized the high offices of the state, denying a share to the Tajiks, Afghans, and non-Turkish nobles. So during the time of the Sultanate, they were having they were considered as the high officials. Most of the high officers vested in them. But later the condition changed. Different rulers treated them in different way. The first one is Iltutmish. Iltutmish organized a group of powerful Turkish nobles. They were called as Chalisa, or the 40 slaves, and distributed high offices among them. The second one is Balban. He crushed the power of Turkish nobles. He took stern measures to break their power, and the most of the power vested in his hand, and enhanced the power of prestige of the monarch. He crushed the power of nobles. He checked the nobles and take so many stern measures and decisions against them. Next one is Jalaluddin Khilji. He tried to gain the goodwill of the nobility by following the policy of tolerance and avoiding giving harsh punishments to them. Next one is Alauddin Khilji. He reversed the policy of tolerance towards the nobles with utmost sincerity and gave strict punishments to the rebellious members of his own family. He formulated a set of rules to prevent the nobles from conspiring against him. So, Alauddin Khilji was another ruler like Balban, who checked the power of nobility and even crushed their power and even punished them. Next one is Muhammad bin Tughlaq. During his reign, the nobility comprised of diverse sections along with the Turks. He gave high post to even those people who did not belong to the noble families. So we can see that in these 5 rulers, Iltutmish, the Jalaluddin Khilji, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq, they favored these nobles. But Balban and Alauddin Khilji controlled them, crushed their power, and checked them. So the condition of nobles during the time of Sultanate was a mixed one. Now, central administration. So we finished the first part of our administration about Sultan, ulamas, and nobility, and about the splendid court. And now we'll move to the second part, that is the central administration. In that part of administration, the country was divided into, or administration was categorized to 3 ways. That is central administration, provincial administration, and the revenue administration. The first one is central administration. The king was considered as the head of administration, and 4 important departments were there, which looks after revenue, military, state correspondence, and religious matter. The revenue was looked after by Wazir, and the military by Ariz-e Mamalik, and state correspondent is Dabari Khas, and religious matter is Sadar. So these are the main 4 departments and the head. Now we'll study about each one in detail. The 4 are Diwani Wazarat, Diwani Ars, Diwani Insha, and Diwani Risala. These are the 4 important departments. Now, Diwani Wazarat was looked after by minister. He was considered as the head wazir, the most important minister, and the head of revenue affair. So, Diwani Wazarat was a department which looks after the important revenue affairs, and revenue affairs means from where we get the tax, and the large department belonging to income and expenditure. Next one is Diwani Ars or military department, headed by Harisi Mamalik. Harisi Mamalik was considered as the head of military. His job was to recruit troops, pay salary, hold periodical inspections of the forces, and it was during the time of Balban who first set up a separate Aris department in India. So Diwani Azarat is a department which is called military department. Its head is Harisi Mamalik. Third one is Diwani Insha, Department of State Correspondence. Its head was Dabiri Khas, and he was the person who looks after the relation of king between other rulers. This department deal with all the correspondence between the rulers and of another king and another state, drafting of royal proclamations and letters to provincial governors and officers, etc. Next one is Diwani Risalat. It's a religious, they look after religious matter. It was headed by a chief Sadar who was generally a leading Kasi. So Diwani Risalat was the group or a department which looks after the religious matter. Its head was Sadar. Other department is Kasi ul Quzat was the head of judicial department, and Majlis-e Khalwat is the council. It look after the Sultan's general discussions of all important matters in this council. It is not a person, it's a group, or like our Sabha or Samadi, it's a council, and the king usually do all the discussions in or important matter in this Majlis-e Khalwat, and in this they take the important decisions, and most of the high officials take part in this meeting. The second part is provincial government. The Turkish rulers divided the land into different groups. The first one is called Iktas. Iktas were looked after by Iqtidar, Muktis, Walis, etc. The Muktis maintained law and order, and the provinces were divided into districts, and these districts are called as Shiks. And Shiks were looked after by Iqtidar, and it was again divided into Parganas. Then it was divided into villages. Villages were looked after by village headmen, and landowners were called Quds, and headmen of villages were called Mukdam. Record keepers were Patwari, and the village accountant was called Mushraf. So these were the different departments which looked after the provincial government. The most important point in this is the land was divided into different categories called as Iktas, and the head of Iktas are Iqtidars. Next one is revenue. This is the last topic of our first part video. In this chapter also, this part is very important. Learn each and every one. That is what is Kharaj, Khams, Jasiya and Zakat. This four, and what is that you have to learn or you have to by heart it. Kharaj was a land tax and raised from 1/3 to 1/2 of the produce. So if the land is fertile, the tax will be more. So it will be decided by the Iqtidars, and the tax will be collected by the revenue collectors, and the taxes are decided according to the productivity of the land. Second one is Khams, was 1/5 of the booty captured in the war. 4/5 of it went to the army which fought war. So it will be used by the army. Jasiya, religious tax imposed on non-Muslims. Zakat was a religious tax, and which is imposed on rich Muslims, and it was 2.5% of the income. So it's a religious tax, and it is 2.5 of the percentage of the income. So let's wind up with the revenue administration once again. Kharaj, land tax. Khams, 1/5 of the booty captured from war. Jasiya, religious tax, and Zakat was a religious tax which is imposed on rich Muslims. So this is the first part of our chapter. Now we'll continue art and architecture in the second part of our video. Thank you.